pleasure and honor to welcome Monsieur Jean Todt today, who has had an illustrious career, which we'll go through bit by bit and the learnings from that, and really the leadership challenges faced and how those overcame and what you're working on today. But I would like to start, first of all, with a very warm welcome. And to really, if you go back in time to days when you first started as a rally driver, as a co-driver, in those rallies and won many, many championships in rallies. What inspired you to start with to follow that path as a young man?
Good afternoon. Very happy to be with you here in Davos. I think life is around passion, and sometimes, it's just inside of yourself. So there was no specific reason. My father was a doctor. He had no interest for cars. But very quickly I loved cars, I loved motor racing, and I was wondering by which way I could start. And you have also destiny, and all that made that I started as a rally co-driver. But for me, it was just, like studying, going to university. So you try to see how you are going to climb the steps, to go from one class to another one. And clearly I realized that management, leading a racing team, and of course at the time for me being French, I could only figure out being in France, and running a French company. And in fact it occurred because after 15 years as a co-driver, going all over the world with different teams, drivers, I was appointed as a head of motorsport for Peugeot, which was a French company, one of the two, because at the time you had the PSA group, Peugeot, Citroën, and Renault. And we got involved in rallying. At the time, the company was a bit struggling, and it was a lot of expectation on a car, where I'm sure everybody will remember. It's a 205. And I proposed to combine the road car and the rally car, which was quite risky because if the rally car would not have been successful, it would have been bad for the image of the road car. But things went quite well, and we arrived with the 205 Turbo 16, which was quite of a revolutionary car at the time. And after that, from rallying, we had to cross country. Incidentally, the Dakar now is occurring at the moment, I think the last 2 or 3 days in Saudi Arabia. And we participated 5 times in the Dakar, which we won 5 times, which was good. So we had to go to do something else. We went into sports car, and so racing like Le Mans 24 hours. And here also we were quite successful. And finally I said, okay, I've been around what I wanted to do, now I want to do some other things. And finally I got some proposals from different companies. Incidentally, surprisingly enough, more from company out of France, and among them it was Ferrari.
And you were the first non-Italian leader in that organization. So after you turned around Peugeot and took it from a little bit of a struggling entity, if you will, into this wild success story, winning the Le Mans, the 1, 2, 3 as well, the positions, and really setting records across that. Then you joined Ferrari, which was also at the time you joined struggling in its own way. What made you take that leap from something that you had created as a success story into something which felt like, let me turn this around again? And what were the lessons there?
Maybe, when I turned, I have to minimize that, because I turned nothing. In fact, we turned, because I think alone you can do very little, but if you are ambitious, if we are ambitious for you, but also for your surrounding, because sometimes you're ambitious for you, but not for your surrounding, because you think maybe it's dangerous for my position. And for me, I was always trying to get the best at all the levels. So, with the best, we achieved great things. And it was, in a way, it was my concept at Ferrari. And first I was surprised when I got this proposal. And everybody told me, don't go there, you cannot succeed, which was probably exciting me. I like when people say you cannot do it, because I think you can always do if you want to do it. And that's how it went. I arrived, it was not easy. You know, very often I was coming back at home and I think that the last day, they will not keep me. But finally, resisting, you know, like plugging your phone. In the evening, you have no more battery. So you need to put battery. So I was trying to put battery in myself, and success came, you know, again being ambitious, trying first to rebuild the team, to get the best engineers, the best mechanics, to get technical people, and then the best driver. And then slowly we started to get the result from this kind of package.
And so, how much is the team, how much is the driver, and how much is the car when it comes to winning and getting there?
Interesting question, but you know, I think you have example. I think the car and the team is 90%. But don't forget that you know, you take Formula One, which is pinnacle of motorsport. You have 20 drivers, so all they are good, you know. But then you have maybe two or three who have extra talented. But if they don't have the car, but you have examples, you know, when you have example with Michael after he was twice world champion, he did not have a good car. He was not anymore champion. You take Hamilton. He had not been champion since 3 years because the car is not as good as it used to be. You have the example with Vettel, with Alonso, so it's a combination. But clearly, if the best driver doesn't get the best car, he will not have success.
And how much do you think your background as a rally driver and having lived that life in a different way, but a very similar way, enabled you to build the organization in a way that understood what the drivers and the teams and the cars needed?
Definitely I learned, you know, because I mean, if you want to be, but you know, wherever you want to be successful, you need to be committed. You need to be a detail maniac, and never consider that things are given for granted. You know, so there is. I mean, we are in a world of competition. So if you want to have success, you must be a strong competitor and hard worker.
And so when we talk about leadership, and you're very clear that it's not I, it's we, what does leadership mean to you when you look to build these companies and you look to do these turnarounds with teams? What do you look for in the team, and what are the fundamental positions as a leader that you like to take or that you believe in as values?
I think a team, whatever is the team, you need a reference in the team or in the company. So that's the role of the leader, to be the reference to them, to be an example to them, a good example, and then to motivate the people, and and to make sure that the people have the same ambition. And that's when another thing which is very important when you are a leader is the succession. You know, and to work to when you leave, to make sure that the company will move on. And sometimes you can be a good leader, but you cannot be very good to leave the best succession.
And in that leadership journey and that arc towards success, towards becoming number one, there's this huge, you're playing to win. And then sometimes when you reach that number one position, the mindset starts to change and you start to play to not lose. How do you as a leader ensure that you always have that winning attitude in the team, and that that team doesn't change to more complacent or we're already number one, and start slipping?
I mean, I think, you know, it's by doubt. Never feel that you are good, never feel that you are the best, and feel that the others are better than you. And if you want to have success, just be committed, and have positive doubt. You know, positive doubt, and then never lose energy, ne- never being spoiled whatever is what you achieve.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning. I think as a rally driver, one of the most important fundamental things is always safety, and what safety meant back then and what safety means today. Your position now as the UN Special Envoy for Road Safety, and it's a much longer title, but I'm going to go with that for now. Can you talk to us about what that means to you and what made you make that transition?
So, I mean, when I started, when I was starting, I had no interest about safety. I was, opposite. I was a bit unconscious, but I've changed. I was uncomfortable with the safety belt, feeling this. Um, I did not like to have a fireproof overall because I thought it was itching me. So I was not a good example. But I learned, and then you realize, you see, I had to face, but mainly in my career, because when you are driver, co-driver, I don't think you think at the time of that so much. But then when you start to have a responsibility, it's not for you, it's for the others. So you want to have your people to be safe. That's why I always put a priority on it. Unfortunately, it did not happen from one day to another. So you have different categories. Rallying remains. 2 days ago in the Dakar, one motorbike driver got killed. Because probably even if so much progress has been done, when you have a motorbike in a desert at 200 kilometers an hour, and if you fall, then it's just destiny. Is it good or not good? And so I thought we need to work for our drivers, and incidentally, again, you need to be surrounded by the best people if something will happen. And I was blessed enough to have amongst my best friend one orthopedic surgeon, who was, I call him still now, my fireman. And I realized that it was another part of my life that it was time to give something to the others. At the time, I thought that it would be good to create one orthopedic foundation, and speaking with him about that, he said, let me think about it. And he came back and he said, to put it at my level, he said, orthopedy is a chassis. We know how it works. What we don't know is electronic, the brain. So we went into a brain institute. We created again a dream team. And from scratch today, we are in the biggest hospital of Paris called Brain Institute, 25,000 square meter, 1,000 research people. And I think we are number 2 in brain research in the world.
Congratulations.
So, again, it's part, safety. Sometimes you want to do something and people feel, we don't like, or it's going to change the nature of Formula One. And probably the best last example was what's called halo. Halo was head protection. Why? Because I realized that so much had been done since Ayrton Senna died in 1994, 30 years this year. And between 94 and 2024, it has been one dead in Formula One. In a way, one too much, but still compared to what it was at the time. And I realized that the most vulnerable part of the drivers now was the head. So we decided to find a head protection. And everybody said, it's not good. Everybody was vocal about that. If you ask now a single-seater driver to go in a car without halo, he will not go in it.
Of course.
So just trying to, again, never give things for granted and try to see how make things as safe as possible. And never think that we got it, because then the story says that you did not get it.
And you have, in addition to the Brain Institute and this special envoy position, several other engagements and activities where you enjoy spending your time. Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so
again a very long title.
Maybe one word still about safety and my role as a special envoy to the Secretary General for Road Safety. Every year, 1.3 million people die on the road. And you have about 40 to 50 million people who are injured with a full-time disability. And I call that a silent pandemic, because the problem, people, they leave home and they are sure they will coming back. But unfortunately, every day you have 3,500 people who leave home and they don't come back. Among them, 500 children. It's number one cause of deaths. So I realized that we needed to do something. And so I quite like the idea of trying to campaign with government, not in developed world, but in the developing world, where 90% of those numbers are occurring. So, I mean, it's kind of my daily challenge, and sometimes you feel interest. Sometimes, yesterday I had a great meeting with the president of Rwanda, and we said, okay, we are going to put that, and if you see his Twitter, he's saying now we are going to put priority on road safety in Rwanda. So that's what we want to achieve, And can you imagine if in 5 years, from 1.2, we get to half of them, we will have saved so many lives. And I think if you had some success, it was something I was mentioning when we prepared this program. You have a responsibility to give something back, and incidentally here we are in the place. I mean, Davos is it's sparkling Davos with the most powerful, influential people in the planet who are here for 1 week. So I really hope that from talks it goes into action, because the reality of the life, you have 2 billion people, they don't have access to water, they don't have access to health care, they don't have to eat. You are in a world where you have at the moment 25 wars are occurring in the planet. So on one side, I'm still love to watch a race, to follow, but then start to think, okay, you have had so much enjoyment with that. How can you be useful to the others?
Wonderful. Thank you. And those are shocking numbers. Thank you for sharing them and enlightening us with that. I think we have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. If we have any, we can take them now. Otherwise, please go ahead.
The great session. Just I have one question here. Is that what advice you advise the youth here? What's your advice to the youth, the younger generation? Just a quick one, if you don't mind.
I mean, but a quick one. It's a very interesting question. Incidentally, the good news of the year, because since of the 1st January, I'm a grandfather, and it's amazing.
Congratulations.
And it's amazing when you see, this little thing coming completely out of his mother, and then when you see the evolution, So probably, the biggest value is to learn what is, and to understand, the value of life, to have values in your life, to have integrity, and to try to respect the others. What is fascinating for me, and it's probably the most fascinating thing, and very often I speak about that. We are in a world with technology, AI, all of things, and here, you just go through the road and you will see what. But the most complex and amazing thing is human being. You are in the world, you have 8 billion population, 8 billion people with the same specification. They are all different, and we don't know how it works. Incidentally, going back to the medical institute, you all know people who are vulnerable because of cancer, because of Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis disease, Parkinson's disease, and we don't know how to do it. So I think we should give more space to medical research and clearly teach the youth, how they need to behave and what the responsibility they have. Because there is a huge responsibility for the decades, for the centuries to come.
Great. Any more questions? Then I will wrap up with one final one. And it's a 2-part question. So the first part is, did you ever expect Formula One to become as big as it has, as a global phenomenon? And the second part of the question is, where do you think the future of e-Formula One is, and how does that play in Airplaya or e-Formula?
So, I mean, concerning Formula One, I mean, you know, Formula One has always been very popular, but probably the game changer was the new commercial right holder, US origin, deciding to, which was not because Formula One was popular in most of the part of the world except in US. And so having 3 Grand Prix in Austin, Miami, and Las Vegas in US, and also this TV series, Drive to Survive, you know, which created a big interest, mainly for women, incidentally, has been something fantastic for Formula One. But you know, again, never give things for granted. You know, it's not over, but it's really a good moment. Concerning Formula E, and I know quite well Formula E because I created Formula E, and incidentally the 10th year this year, because it started in 2014. And today, I mean, I would say there is still a lot to be done. You know, it's a very interesting category because it's a single seater, possibly in cities, you know, but you need to educate people more. Incidentally, you need to educate people. At the moment, it's a very few proportion of cars which are electric. You know, we speak a lot about electric car, but globally every year you have about 100 million cars which are sold, and I think it's 2-3% which are electric.
And do you think Formula E will encourage more of the world
So
to become electric?
that was all the idea, you know, but mainly in the cities, because at the moment, I mean, the limit of one electric car is the autonomy and the recharging time. So for cities, it's ideal.
So we need technology to get there. Thank you for the insights. I think you know, very valuable for the youth to follow their passion, for leaders to not take their position for granted, and to have the self-doubt always, or positive doubt, as you put it, and always to give back. Thank you for joining us. Can
Thank
we
you.
thank Jean?
Thank you.